Joining us on Sports Seriously this week is the one, the only Broncos legend, TD, Terrell Davis. Thanks for stopping by, sir. How are you?
My pleasure, Tony. How you doing, man? Doing great.
Excellent. I'm excellent to talk this business. Now we got to talk about these Broncos. Where do I begin? You know, first of all, give me a reaction to the first 6 games with the whole Russell Wilson Hackett era. I mean, you were a huge supporter of Russ, and he isn't cooking like how you thought. Man, what's the problem?
I think if the problem was easy to identify, I'm sure they would fix it. It's just, you watch them play, and by the way, I'm rooting for Russ. I'm rooting for Nathaniel Hackett. Obviously, want the Broncos to do well. They just haven't gotten off to the start that I think most people anticipated. I live in Denver, and a lot of the talk in the preseason was that they didn't practice guys a lot, and they didn't play guys in the preseason. And so some people will point to that to say, well, you should have played guys in the preseason and worried about injuries later. I mean, could that be it? I don't think that's the whole story. You have a lot of moving parts, and I remember somebody asked me about Denver earlier, and I said the only question mark that I have is there's a lot of newness. I mean, everything is new. You talk about from the owners to the head coach. The GM is in his second year. George Payton. You have new coordinators. You have a new quarterback. So it takes a long time to get that to gel, and it just doesn't happen overnight. So it's a process, and unfortunately, what they've been doing right now is a process that's probably taking a little longer than they expected, and the results just have not been there.
TD, it sounds like you're channeling your inner Aaron Rodgers. Relax, relax, like you're not panicking yet.
All I'm saying is I watch the games, man, and I'm trying to relax. I'm trying not to jump off that ledge, and just trying to wait. And it's a long season. We're only 6 games in, so it is a long season. I'm confident that they'll improve, but you're down, 2 games, and in a division where the Chiefs, you haven't played them yet. Lost to the Raiders, lost to the Chargers. So that's not where you want to be. Hopefully things turn around and get back on track with the Jets.
All right, TD, we heard another NFL legend, Troy Aikman, say on the Monday Night Football broadcast that they weren't running Chris routes, the wide receivers that were. Talk to me, what's wrong with this offense right now?
Yeah, another we're talking about the same thing, and when you're not winning, everything becomes magnified. Yeah, it is important to run routes that are precise. Routes are drawn up for a reason, and if it's a 5-yard route, you got to run 5 yards. You can't go 7. You can't go 3. It messes up the integrity of the route. And I teach my kids that when I'm teaching flag football. Like, listen, these plays are drawn up for a reason, and they're drawn up for you to run these routes in a certain way. Guys are open. Sometimes Russell's not hitting them, and then sometimes he's available to make the throw. They're not open. So that combination is not good. Again, I'm gonna keep stressing. I know people are out there panicking. I'm trying to be patient and say let's wait. Let's allow this thing to let the process to play out a little bit more before we I think kind of throw in the towel, man. It's a long season.
So I just want to be clear that I'm hearing you right. TD, people said back when Russ was in Seattle, they should let him cook, and now they're saying he is cooked. But like you said, it's still early in the season. It's a new team, new coach, new QB, new system, new everything. Are you saying what they need is time?
Well, I'm saying time will tell. I'm not saying all they need is time. Listen, I'm just as concerned as everybody else. I mean, I can't lie. I mean, you watch the game, and you're trying to point to something where you're leaning on as positive. Normally, if you're watching a team like this and you see the offense scoring points and maybe the defense just hasn't gelled yet, and they're still losing, then you say, you know what? At least we're scoring 30 points a game. They're the worst scoring offense in the league right now. So you can't hang your hat on how much is that going to get better? I don't know, but yeah, when you watch it, the concern is that there's not a whole lot that you walk away from the game and saying, first, like I said, the first couple of weeks of the game, there were just things that shouldn't have happened. It was mismanagement of the clock. It was situational football that they weren't playing well in, and now they're finding ways to lose. Last game, you have the punter clearly should be calling, get away, clear, clear, and you have a muffed punt. Team recovers it. So there's always something in each game that sets them back. I'm saying yes, time will eventually tell us what this team looks like. But we've seen in the past where teams come out the gate slow. They're 2-4. 17 games to play. I'm just saying the math is there for them to turn things around. And no better time to turn things around than your next game.
As a gold jacket running back, we got to talk about this running back situation in Melvin Gordon. What do you make of the running back situation? I mean, with Javonte getting hurt and Melvin not being able to get any touches, I mean, they just picked a guy off the street, and he actually got more burn than Melvin Gordon. I mean, what do you think about that? Can they salvage this relationship?
Yeah, you're talking about Latavius Murray. Here's a difficult thing, and anybody's ever played running back knows this is. And I preach the same thing when I'm coaching little league, youth football, no matter. That football is important, man. I don't. Your number one job is you can't turn that thing over. You got to secure the rock. And if you are so focused now on I can't fumble the ball, it's almost impossible to be productive. Your mind can't be on. Subconsciously, you have to think about it, but you can't consciously think about two hands on the ball. When I'm in a pile, I gotta grab this thing and hug it like squeeze it tight, because now your mind is not thinking on making a play. I just think it's going to be tough for him. They've already, as you can see, Broncos seem to have soured on Melvin. You can't. I mean, listen, bottom line, you can't fumble that many times. You can't fumble. I think some of the 5 consecutive games.
He has 4. He leads the NFL in fumbles. He has 4. That's double any other running back.
Going back to last year, I believe it was 5 games in a row. And then once you do that, now you got the defense. They know exactly how to get in your head. So every time you get the rock, they either are telling you, calling you, I don't know, greasy fingers, whatever they're calling out there, man, yanking at the ball, telling everybody, pull the ball, you're gonna fumble it. And if you hear that enough times, it is almost impossible to be productive, because you just can't allow that ball to get away from the body and hold it with one arm anymore, because you just can't afford to have that ball hit the ground. So Melvin, unfortunately, man, I like him, but that's gonna be tough for him to crawl out of the situation he's in right there. But yeah, right now they've gotta do it by committee, and I think what you have to do is kind of scheme it, meaning go back to zone runs, go back to the wide zone. Make it simplify the offense where it's not only helping the running backs, but it's helping Russell, or he can do bootlegs and get more movement stuff, which helps that running game to go. Offensive line, it helps as well. Receivers, it helps everybody. So they just got to go back to going to that zone run scheme that, I did when I was there, and Russell did it in Seattle. Niners do it. It's a pretty efficient, system. So they should probably do that a little bit more.
So can Melvin Gordon come back for this? Does he need to be traded or cut? And what advice would you give to him?
I mean, it's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. If he gets another chance, he knows that that's probably his last chance. He's got to do good on that one. He can't. You just can't afford to put the ball on the ground no more. That's it. That's it. And if that happens, he knows what we all know. He's probably not going to be there. And so I don't think this is it's a foregone conclusion that he's out. But I think that he knows that it's pretty that he's got a short leash, and he's walking on a pretty tight rope, and he's going to have to make good. Now, if he comes out in balls, which he's capable. If he can come out on the ball and secure that ball and don't put it on the ground and keep doing that and not drop and not fumble the rock until next year, that needs to be plan A. Plan A, I'm going out there, I'm going to make plays, and I'm not going to put the ball in harm's way. And then if you do that, we forget, fans forget, coaches forget, players forget, he'll forget, and then he just be out there doing his thing.
Winning cures all ills.
Yes, it does.
TD, what can't be lost in all of this, in this particular team, is that they have a stellar defense. They haven't given up more than 19 points in 5 of their 6 games. The offense just hasn't picked up the slack. Is there a chance that this could cause some resentment and division within the locker room?
It's always a possibility if you don't have a strong locker room where you can have that resentment, where you see the infighting, the locker room brawls, the kind of cold words from defenses when they leave the field, when they're talking to a reporter and they're asked a question about, the loss, and one player says, "We did our job." When the defensive player said, "Hey, we did our job. We held them to, 16 points, 10 points." That's code word for offense thinks, and, and you know what I'm saying. So that's finger pointing right there. I haven't seen it, but to your point, it's real. It's a possibility, and you never want to get offense defense fighting based off performances, and now you're saying we would be better if you guys would just play better. Here's the deal: they know, offense knows that they need to pick it up. They need to pick it up. Now, doing it is another issue. It's easy to say, okay, let's go out there. We need to put up 30 points or 20, 25 plus points. It's easy to say it.
Yeah.
But it ain't easy to do. You just can't snap your fingers, go out there and you go from a team who's the worst scoring offense to the highest scoring offense. Because think about it, everything you've done to this point was stuff you practiced in the preseason and the offseason. Just all the installs, everything you've done has been to get you to this point. So what are you gonna do now? Scrap the whole offense, go with a different scheme? You kind of are who you are. You can add some stuff to it, but overall, the offense kind of is what it is. And I don't know if it gets much better. It might get incrementally better as the season progresses, which I hope it does. And that's kind of the plan of any coach, a coordinator, a head coach. The offense we want, the defense has to improve every single week. I know when I was playing in Denver, that was our mindset. Our mindset was, even if we put up 30 points in the first game, we are always trying to get better. We never saw it as we've reached our destination. Destination was always like, how do we get better? And to a man, we had a locker room that was full of unselfish players who didn't care who got the credit. And that's really the key to any successful team, is you got to go out there and sacrifice and play for the guys next to you. And I don't care if I score 3 touchdowns. If we win, Rod scores 4 touchdowns, Ed McCaffrey, Shannon, it don't matter to me. I'm still going to go out there and do my job the best way I know how to do it. And if I get all the attention and don't get the ball, that's great. Somebody else is making the play. That's got to be the mindset of any offense. And not to say they don't have that, but they have to. If they don't have it, they need to go ahead and try to get that mentality.
Sure. Well, TD, that is why you've been on Super Bowl winning teams, that mentality, and you've seen both. Again, you've been on Super Bowl winning teams and teams that didn't live up to expectations. So for you, if you're talking to that locker room right now, I mean, what would you tell them? There's still 11 games to go. As you said, it's a long season. What would you tell them they have to do to turn this around?
I mean, I think the first thing you have to remind them is what you just said. We're already 6 games into a 17-game season. It starts now. The first 6 games, I would let them know that was preseason. We're done. Those games are gone. From here on out, we've gotta play like tomorrow. Our next game is a playoff game. We got to play every game like this is the last game of the year. And it starts with energy. It starts with being prepared. It starts with really honing and executing the game plan. Even if the plays aren't good, and coaches too. Coaches got to step the game up as well. Everybody's got to step the game up, and that's what it's going to take. Because if you think right now the season is over after 6 games, man, that you're gonna have a long way. It's gonna be a long way.
Speaking of coaches, you touched on that. Can Hackett lose the entire locker room in the first season? I mean, we talk about Melvin Gordon, we talk about Russ, but Hackett is the one that's on the hot seat rather than going anywhere with that contract. What's going on with Hackett?
Yeah, again, I'm here in Denver, so there's a lot of talk about Nathaniel Hackett, and he's catching a lot of heat, and rightfully so, because when you're the head coach, you take the heat for when things don't go well, when there's breakdown in communication, when the play clock is running down, when it seems like there's just a weird mismanagement situation in every single game. Um, and there are people now, which was unfathomable a few weeks ago, who think that he might be a one and done coach. And I've seen it all. So is it possible that he can be one and done? Yeah, it's possible. And I think what I know is that from this point on, this is where he has to kind of audition for the job again. Hey, this is why you brought me in, because I can control locker rooms like this. I can take a team that seems to be losing its grip. I can get them refocused and get them back into that winner's mentality. And I think again, you let this play out. Keep going back to it. 6 games. He only coached 6 games, so we'll see these next couple of games. We'll tell a big story about what the Broncos decide to do next year and if they bring him back. I hope they do. I mean, listen, I love the dude. I love him personally as a person. I've known him for a long time, and wish him well. But in this business, that doesn't keep jobs though. Liking people you don't keep jobs. Like
They don't.
you got to win. He was brought in to win and change this entire culture. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, sports fans, if you want to see more conversations with athletes and stars, check out these videos right here and be sure to subscribe for more from USA Today Sports.